Music therapists are modern-day shamans because they bring back the original purpose of music, which is to enhance people's lives. So in this video, we're going to talk about how music therapists are like shamans. Hi, my name is JD, and I'm a statistician and music therapist here to offer statistically significant support. And if you don't mind hitting those like and subscribe buttons so that you can get the support as it comes out. Prehistoric paintings suggest that people use the creative arts, that's music, art, and dance, 35,000 years ago to heal. And that's even through the group therapy dynamic through tribal healing rituals. Now, in the past, shamans met the social and psychological needs of their communities while informing ritual and creativity. But modern day shamans are more responsible for the client that's right in front of them than they are in the community at large. The modern day shaman also has the client go into the altered state of consciousness for themselves rather than they going into the altered state for the client. Now, shamans are wounded healers who commune and mediate with the spiritual world while also seeing the environment as emotionally alive and a part of themselves. Now, modern day shamans have the clients go into the altered state of consciousness for themselves rather than traveling for the client. They'll also help the client go within, overcome their fears, and learn wisdom about themselves. Shamans will use music to achieve non-musical outcomes. For example, a shaman might use music in rituals to summon deities and purifying the space. Now, some shamans of South Korea use music to intentionally bring everyone together. These are living, dead, and gods all together in the same space. Now, during a grieving ritual, these shamans will embody the deceased. They'll actually call in the deceased and use falling melodic contours to mimic sighs, while also using falsetto to mimic emotional crying. Drumming is used in the ceremony, and drumming would eventually change to arrhythmic patterns with frequently changing meter, and this is a way for the bereaved to represent breaking free of that sorrow. And after stabilizing, the bereaved would sing popular songs while dancing, which would bring fun back into the room. In other words, the music is used intentionally and metaphorically in the ceremony to allow the bereaved to experience the grieving process while also expressing their feelings, diving deeper into the loss, and leaving the ceremony in a better mood. The ritualists view the music's role as invoking sorrow and joy within the non-musical outcome of puri, which is removing negative forces. In another example, a shaman in Siberia is recorded as bringing people together through singing, dancing, and drumming, and they did this through a call and response format that ended up in a dance circle. Now, the leader of this call and response format would change from person to person, and the leader would determine the rhythm and the stepping speeds, so that everyone got a chance to lead and everyone got a chance to follow. And this is a technique that I've actually done myself in my own therapy sessions. Instruments are also sacred to the shamans. They are bodies of the gods used religiously and sacro-magically. The music activates the shaman's clothing and helping spirits, puts the shamans in an altered state of consciousness, and allows the community members to build up their psychic energy for the journey. The music often ends up mediating the shaman's inner and outer worlds, while the shaman, who can change his or her state at will, often uses the music to express the altered state experience. Music therapists also meet their community's social and psychological needs, but speaking just about spirituality, 76% of music therapists interviewed internationally reported that spirituality is connected to their identity and to their work, but most won't tell their clients this. They will use spirituality as a source of strength for themselves, but they won't equate the work to mysticism, even though some believe that music has a spiritual origin and is a medium, and that their spirituality informs their practice. Even 63% of these music therapists reported having a spiritual experience in session, and music therapists using the Bonny method of guided imagery and music in particular describe these events as altered states, trances, traveling, and transpersonal experiences. Now, this Bonny method I'll refer to as GIM. These experiences have been an everyday event for some therapists, and many include spirituality as part of their assessment, but they're reminded that they have ethical and professional boundaries, and even some therapists consider it unethical to address in the first place. But this is big. 91% of music therapists reported that music therapy helped their clients with their spiritual well-being. But this is even though it wasn't the purpose of the therapy. The thing is, only some music therapists are trained in addressing spiritual needs. These are needs like expanded awareness, but we do have some disciplines that are for spirituality, such as Nordoff-Robbins, or address it explicitly like in GIM through transpersonal and spiritual competencies. GIM is a combination of music and guided imagery, and it induces an altered state in the clients without drugs. It was even developed to replace LSD in therapy. Now, while both shamans and music therapists will use guided imagery, just the GIM music therapist will use recorded tapes. But like the modern-day shaman, the GIM music therapist will have the patients go into the altered state rather than the therapist. Now, earlier I said that spirituality wasn't the focus of the therapy in music therapy, but even though it wasn't explicitly the focus, that doesn't mean that music isn't an inactive means for transcendence. In fact, music's transcendental powers have been documented. Music allows the patients to access undiscovered parts of themselves as well as losses that they had not previously mourned. Drumming does in fact induce an altered state of consciousness that can reduce addiction, and experimental research has shown that shamans do go into an altered state of consciousness through listening to drumming sounds. This trance is very similar to neurological changes through drug-induced states, but they're different enough to be distinct. Researchers have also found in a lab setting that shamanic drumming with an untuned drum can stimulate more of the brain than less complex and single-frequency sounds. That more energy can be transmitted to the brain with a drum because of the lower frequencies due to a pain tolerance, and that the rhythmic drumming matched the basic rhythm of the brain's alpha waves, which is about 8 to 13 cycles per second. This drumming drove the participants' alpha waves, which is what sent them into the trance-like state. These altered states of consciousness are the focus in both shamanism and GIM, which seek to balance the inner and outer states of the client while also having the client move back and forth between the altered state and the regular state of consciousness. Now, besides the altered state of consciousness, both the shaman and the GIM music therapist use music to act as a guide as the client travels through the altered state. Now, the biggest difference between the two is that shamans view the spiritual entities, their guides, spirits, and animals during the altered state as real and integral to the process, but the GIM music therapist views it only as an altered state of consciousness. Both types of practitioners are necessary and vital to the healing process to help the patients verbally express their experience and process the feelings. Now, the deep relaxation and concentration on the music in GIM are similar to the altered states that happen in shamanism, and the GIM patients will mentally travel within themselves to address these issues, which is similar to the shamanic process of addressing unconscious or repressed conflicting feelings. But just because there are different techniques at times between shamanism and GIM doesn't mean that the overall processes between them parallel each other. In fact, they do. Both make preparations for the experience, use techniques to facilitate an altered state of consciousness, travel within an altered state, and provide a way to return to regular consciousness. There's even a case study of a music therapist using both GIM and shamanic approaches on the same client. Now, this client was discouraged because GIM wasn't working because she couldn't let go of her own thinking. Now, this therapist used 2 drum journey sessions with the patient, and afterwards, the patient was ready to try GIM again. Now, this time in her altered state of consciousness, she saw her simplified life and her own inner warrior, which to her represented victory and responsibility. Now, before treatment, she was emotionally shut down. After treatment, she felt alive and hopeful. Even though music therapists are addressing their clients' spiritual needs in sessions, they often find it difficult to talk about their own spirituality to their clients, and they express 3 dilemmas when it comes to their spirituality. The first is being seen as unprofessional in scientific and medical settings. The second is others viewing music therapy as esoteric spiritual healing for alternative people. And the third is not knowing how to assess spiritual goals or how to balance official policies or laws with the client's spiritual needs. Now, a big message I'm personally getting out of all of this is that if music therapists are afraid to talk about a significant portion of their work, or even just a part of who we are, then we become unable to be authentic for the patient, to address the patient needs, and to provide holistic care for the patient. If our charge as music therapists is to bring back the original purpose of music, which is to enhance people's lives, then perhaps it's time to drop the stigma around spirituality and discuss as a profession how we can meet those needs through our scientifically backed magic, the music, and be the best shamans that we can be. So if you found this video helpful, please hit that like button, and if you want more content like this, hit the subscribe button so that I can continue to bring you more statistically significant support. Thank you.